It's Chris here. Is your Agile career a livelihood or a liability? Because in 2026, framework enforcers are being erased from the balance sheet. If you're not moving KPIs, you are invisible. Transform now with the Business Outcomes Partner Playbook. Unlock the proven $17 system to move metrics fast and secure your role. Get the playbook now. You can't afford to wait. Links are in the show notes below. If you want to lead Agile teams, and in fact, if you want to lead your industry, you got to stand for something. That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast.
Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams.
My friend, welcome. In a time that's absent of leadership, in a drought of virtues, value, and ethics, the leaders who do well, who shape the next generation, will stand for something. I'll dig in a sec, but first let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. If this episode helps you, do me a favor and share it with your friends. Now, this is a topic that comes up for me because it's important to me. You've heard me talk about having a voice or being a true original. It's not the easiest path. It's not a simple road, but it's worthwhile. Because if you stand for something that's uniquely you, that's powerful and true, that resonates with even a handful of other people, trust me, it's way more fulfilling than just occupying a seat at the office. Here's what I mean, and Agile is a perfect example. It's too easy for us to think of ourselves as people who simply profess, train, and enforce a process, a methodology, framework. We watch other people do what they do. We tell them the steps that they should take to make themselves more effective, to make their efforts more fruitful. And if we're really good, we're able to observe what's happening, the specific context, the specific people, the culture, and then we can shift and shape our recommendations accordingly. And you know me, I always say there are no agile problems, only human problems. So as far as I'm concerned, it's your ability to observe those things that ultimately makes you effective as a scrum master or coach. But here's the problem. There's millions of us now, all wandering the halls, reading from the same source book, teaching the same rules and regulations. We may not even be 100% sure if they really work. In the bigger context, does this help a business meet their objectives? Does this help people work together better? Does this change the way we work? Does this create more productive workflows? We can't always be 100% sure. It's almost as if we're teaching rules for rules' own sake. And this is where I feel it gets a little bit boring. If you want to do something really exciting, really fulfilling, and uniquely you got to bring your own experience and your own insight to it. I'll give you a perfect example. When I started working in Agile over 2 decades ago, I noticed a trend, a bottleneck. That everything big companies did seemed to take 18 months to 3 years and cost between $3 and $10 million. And yet there was a great big desire at the top to make things happen faster, but also to stop spending on projects, initiatives, and even ways of working that didn't make any sense. And that stirred something in me. At the very same time I was doing that, personally, I felt like some things were missing in my life. I wanted to get stronger. I wanted to be more courageous, more bold. Something about me as a kid took a lot of criticism. And over time, I learned to not handle it well. I associated criticism, even if it was well-meaning, as painful, as an attack, as not being good enough in the eyes of somebody. But I didn't like being stuck there. I was a fully grown man and I was unable to break my dependence on other people's good opinion and good favor. So if I wasn't getting it, if I was rejected in any way, a really hard time with it. Well, imagine what that would do to your life and career. You're only happy when others are happy with you. Makes taking feedback really, really hard because you have a tendency to dismiss all of it. It makes relationships super difficult because your primary motivation is not being abandoned. It also makes some of the essentials of what I do, like selling and marketing, really tough because the last thing you want to do is irritate anybody and have them reject you or block you or shut you out or tell you to go away. So long story short, something was missing. And it was at that time that I joined a program where I learned what the toughest, bravest, most committed, and most successful people do differently. That program changed my life. I had a lot of very, very bad habits that I quit instantly, which was remarkable because these are areas that, according to the data, people don't just give up. I learned in that teaching the power of the mind, the power of language, the power of certainty, the power of a decision moment. And as I'm learning all these skills, I started going to the gym and I learned how to box, and then I learned how to teach boxing. And I had a super great time conquering some things that I probably spent my whole life avoiding and struggling with. So I combined that with my knowledge of agility and thought, well, if more agile people thought this way, they'd have better luck convincing executives, influencing team members, sharpening goals, prioritizing backlogs. Like, it had major application to everything we do as agilists, simply transforming the way your mind works, the kind of person that you become, the way you operate. So I smashed those two things together and Badass Agile was born. I didn't just teach agile concepts. I taught agile concepts from the lens of high performance, excellence, strength, courage. And I felt then, and still feel to this day, that there's a huge deficit, a huge gap in how we behave, especially in large enterprise, between average and courageous. And if you behave with courage, with internal certainty, with confidence, the results come, even if you don't 100% know what you're doing. And as I started working on training initiatives for companies in my own forge, what I found was that people were coming to me not so they could learn agile rules or even how to improve their practice. They were coming because they wanted the courage to do what they knew was right, which is often very different than what other people will tell you is in the playbook. Now, it's scary to go on LinkedIn and talk about things that most people will disagree with. And you know what? It was that authenticity and that certainty that not only created an audience, but got corporations interested in what I do and asked me, hey, can you come and teach that here? None of that would have existed. None of that would have happened if I hadn't brought my own original voice forward, if I didn't stand for something. So if I had to sum up my experience and then translate it into a way that's usable by you, I would say this: let your pain, your experience, become what you're known for. Because you went through that, all those adventures, all those experiences have either cemented or shaped, refined, rejected, crafted my unique perspective. And it's that perspective that drives this podcast. And it's this podcast that gets people whom I've never known or met to reach out of the blue and say, your work has influenced me. It's inspired me, or it's helped me in some way. And that, for me, is the real juice, because the money comes. But I will say this: we may be approaching an era with the advance of AI. Having lived through the pandemic now 5-6 years ago, work is changing. The way we value the employee-employer relationship is changing. And the future of work, I don't think has really been set yet. What I do expect, and what will never change, is that if you offer something valuable that makes somebody's life better, makes their practice better, makes their business better, you can be in demand. The problem is, and I suffer from this too, even to this day, there's part of you that says that what you have to say that's uniquely you isn't worth saying. We feel like our best bet is to be universally pleasing, to say the things that everybody else is saying. We certainly don't want the rejection, but we also don't want to be straight up wrong. But I'm here to tell you and here to encourage you today that if you have an inkling of something that is uniquely you, then you owe it to yourself to investigate it, to chase it, and maybe make something out of it. I believe that we're all creators. Everything we do puts something into the universe that wasn't there yesterday. And I don't care how good AI gets. It can only spit out things based on what it's been trained on. What it can't do is get an intuition about a rising trend, about an unspoken truth. If you can speak that truth, if you can have the courage to say things that others don't say, then you can lead people. Leadership is not about the number of hours, days, months, years that you spend in the practice. It's about those fundamental things that we've been talking about since 2017. Your ability to grow through your experiences, your struggle, your pain. than to offer it up in service of people who are at least a little bit like you. You'll be shocked, not just surprised, but shocked at how many people are waiting for you to come along and say what you have to say. I don't care if you do it in a podcast, a YouTube channel, a blog, a newsletter, whatever. Do them all. But the world is waiting, and little by little, if you do a good job for one person, that person will say to somebody else, hey, you should listen to what this one right here has to say. This is how you'll build a practice of the future. But if you rely on the unoriginal, people-pleasing, follow the herd kind of stuff that is everywhere on social media, in books, in certification courses, you're only going to go so far. Either you have the desire to do it or you don't, to stand for a truth that may be different than everybody else's truth. Or maybe, did you ever think about this? Maybe the thing that you have to say is so easily rejected because it strikes a nerve, because it stirs in people something that they don't want to cop to. And when you come out and say it, when you come out and stand on it, when you're a living example for that truth, if you coach your teams based on those principles, if you insist on being measured based on those principles, watch how everything changes. What always works, what always wins, no matter how desperate and confusing the times may get, is a person who stands on their principle, who creates something new that didn't exist yesterday. We know from our own Agile philosophy and Agile practice that the things that we say might fail. We might try to bring this to the world via a YouTube channel and nobody watches. Despite our best efforts, nobody listens, nobody follows, nobody connects, nobody reaches out. Well, then try something else. Keep going, keep working at it until the message does land, because I assure you, the things that you have been through, the things that you've learned, the things you believe are worth something. Somebody else out there feels and thinks the same way you do, and they're waiting for you. So how will you serve them? And when? Don't wait. The time is now. My friend, thank you so much for listening. You can reach out at the contacts in the show notes below. You can find me at badassagile.com. And you can check out my products and services at learning.fusechamber.com. I look forward to seeing you next time, my friend. And until then, stay badass.